Good evening. I'm Naima Latif with the Media Connection, and we are here live at this wonderful facility where we are about to see a piece of history. Music, Maestro Please, is a film about a legend, Kelan Phil Cohran. Now, many of you remember him as an amazing musician, someone who was revolutionary in his sound. And I'm here with the production team of this fantastic documentary on his life, giving people a chance to understand the impact he had on music. And one of the reasons why he's remembered with such passion is because he is one of those who influenced the legendary group Earth, Wind, and Fire and brought a spiritual understanding to music. So I'm here with one of the producers, and can you introduce yourself and tell us what motivated you to do this film documentary?
Well, my name is M. Cohran. I am the son, one of many sons of the late, great Kelan Phil Cohran. And this film to me is twofold. One is an introductory film to the public about a very unique, extreme scientist, extreme musicologist, a person that pushed the boundaries in so many ways and encouraged others to do that. And so the main reason is to get the film out and to expose him, but the other reason is to honor what he's done for us personally. Myself, of course, as his son, someone who studied with him on and off for years, and also as well as his students. So we formed a production team, and we decided that we're going to honor him. One of the best ways we can honor him is to put this film together. And so we've come together, the Chicago three of us from Chicago, and the videographer, Mr. Robert Lott from Philly. And we've come together and put this film together. It took us about, maybe 4 years to put the project together. And we're very happy, and we're hoping that everybody else will find the film enjoyable.
Well, I certainly have some great fond memories of your father, Kelan Phil Cohran, because he starred in our film. He provided some beautiful harp music for our film, A Hip Hop Journey with the Ancestors, that was taped right there at the DuSable Museum of African American History. But also, I had the pleasure of performing with him as he traveled around to the prisons and performed. Yes.
Wow.
So he has some deep roots in Chicago. So we know that he has so much history and so much influence. How did you go about finding all of the information, all of the people that he influenced?
Well, that's not possible. Because first place, it's just too vast. That's why I call the film an introductory film, because there is so much to him that you'd have to have several series to really just even get started to cover the things he was involved in. So that's pretty much it. We've come together to we pull stuff from everywhere. I mean, like his students, I think he commissioned Brother Kwesi, which you'll meet in a second, to document, like, I want to say the last 10 years of his life, 10 years or so. And so we pull things from other people we know from other shows. Dr. Gloria Peace, she's had him on many times. And so the family's kept a lot of archives too. And so we've got tons of stuff that we love to share. And we've got more than we even realize.
Wow. Well, we are here at Hales Franciscan over on 49th and Cottage Grove. And this school itself is a historic site. But one of the things that touched so many people is that Phil, even though he was connected with so many people in the music industry, he never lost his touch with the people, the common people, and he was accessible. To what do you attribute his humility? Even though he had this brilliance as a musician, he always remained humble.
The times and the location he grew up in. He told me about our grandmother taking him downtown in the South at age 5, turning the corner and seeing a lynching and turning back around and leaving, and grandmother explaining to him what that's all about. So there's a lot of stuff that he actually experienced, and so of course they moved from the South up north. But I don't want to take up all the time because there's so much that these guys have done. So I'd like to bring some of these guys into, because they've dedicated a lot of their time that they didn't have to do to really be there for my father. He had a special reverence for these two guys, as well as the videographer. And so I'd like to, give these guys a chance to come up and say something.
Well, let's talk to this first gentleman here, and we are forever touched by the memory of Kelan Phil Cohran and Kelan. Oh, Kelan. Okay. Well, I stand corrected. Well, give us your name and your affiliation.
My name is Dwight Bakare McFarland Bay, and I'm one of his students, longtime students. And Brother Phil was a friend of mine, a mentor, a guru, all those things to me. And we got our marching orders from him before he made his transition, Kwesi and I, that if we did anything on his life, his legacy, that we would get with Brother M, his son, and produce information on him that has to get out here about this knowledgeable, intellectual, brilliant, spiritual icon.
So how did you meet? How did you first get connected?
I got exposed to Brother Phil my freshman year of high school in '67 when 2,000 black people in the city of Chicago partied on that 63rd Street beach all summer. And that was the beginning of our cultural explosion in America, right here in Chicago. And Phil Cohran was the spearhead, the driving force behind that with his music on that beach. And from there, he came to my high school in '68 and set us on fire. Then again, he came to my college campus in '71, '72, Northern Illinois University, and set us on fire. So I go way back with Brother Phil, with his music. And then I started studying with him on a regular basis, on and off, taking voice lessons. And then the last 10 years of his life, we started an astronomy class. And he taught us the sky. He taught us the knowledge that our ancestors had.
Now, I understand his teachings were just so far ahead of his time. What was it like being a student and he's talking, astronomy and the science of music and the science of sound? What was it like being exposed to that kind of knowledge that no one else was talking about?
Well, it was truly a blessing to be in the presence of a shaman, because that's what he was. And being in his presence, encountering him, you cannot be in his presence and not walk away from him and want to be the best human being you could possibly be after experiencing him. So his teachings were profound, overwhelming, sometimes very overwhelming, but it was a great experience.
So before we take on our next guest here, what was it that touched your heart that made you decide to get involved in this project?
Just his teachings and his aura, and him, as I said earlier, basically giving us our marching orders. Brother Phil was a very strong-willed individual, very forthright, very forceful. And he said, if you all want to do something on my life, do it, but do it right, and gave us the marching orders who to do it with.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving us your insight. So we've got another gentleman that we want to give an insight about Brother Phil, the man who introduced you. Probably want to sit on this side here. The man who touched so many with his music and his magic as he brought science to sound. So give us your name and how you are involved in this project.
My name is Stephen Kwesi Mack. Kwesi Khan name I obtained in Ghana, West Africa, through a naming ceremony. I had the unique experience of walking with Brother Phil the last 10 years of his life. I would consider it a divine appointment because it wasn't by my choice. I actually did not know of his legacy before meeting him. And when I first met him, very unassuming, humble. And but then when people came up to him and was giving him his accolades, and it was like, well, who is this guy? Right. And so I got connected with him by enrolling my children, 4 children, during his very last class where he would engage the community. I was very impressed with what he did with young people. And so he started up an organization which he would give away instruments, teach music. And so as we went along, I was very impressed with that. And then when I heard him speak for the very first time, my connection was that of knowledge. Uh, I'm always one seeking knowledge. And so when I recognized that this is a master teacher. And so from that, we started an astronomy class. So during those days, he'd taken on a kind of a bit of a health challenge. And so the music class disconnected and he took care of his health issue. And so he came back. We heard he was doing a lecture. We came out to the lecture and the audience wasn't quite receptive. They didn't quite get it. You know, it was kind of the typical, we want to go out, have a good time, food and drink. But one thing I learned very, very, very quickly concerning Brother Phil is the seriousness and the mission of which he was on. And that mission, he said, was from the ancestors. So this knowledge just totally impressed me. And so we started up the class, myself and Brother Baccarat. He says, anybody that seriously want to study, I'm starting up a study group at my house. We'll do it on my terms. I don't have to compromise myself to anybody else's venue, anybody else's schedule. And so we went in. I mean, we went in deep. So many things about the sky and the energies of the skies and the cosmics and the energies of the age and the transitional ages and the predictions. And what we found out, what really attracted me was the science of astronomy, the science of music, the science of what people might say are mystical or not very well understood, but how all of these interrelated to one another. And his stance on the music was to keep it pure. He was on the mission with his music, was not to commercialize the music, because here's a man that had enough musical talent to have been a multimillionaire at any rate, but that was not his purpose. And that was not his divine purpose. That's what depressed me the most about this man. He stayed on point with his divine purpose. And so the pillars of our class became that philosophy. What you do it with integrity, you do it in discipline, and you do it in humility, because it's not just about you. And so that's the impetus of what we try to bring forth to carry on his legacy. We have a divine mission to our children. We can't sit around and talk about problems till we blue in the face and talking about problems from this angle, that angle, and the other angle, and don't bring about solutions, right? So I connected with him in a really scientific mind. Balance is one of the universal laws, right? Balance. So what is out of balance, the universe will bring it back into balance. Cycles and seasons and the different energies that correlate to your body energy. So many profound lessons that you will never find in any uneducated school system. But teaching of true knowledge, of which he told us that true knowledge is that doesn't change ever. Knowledge is akin to truth, which is eternal. It never changes.
True knowledge never changes. Well, that is profound, and Brother Phil was profound. So, well, we certainly thank you for sharing your insight into this great genius of a man. And next, we have the next individual who's going to give us more insight about how this project came to be. And it's an amazing story. And of course, Brother Phil was definitely ahead of his time. And now his teaching is just now being able to be understood. So we're going to hear a bit more about how this project came to be and how perhaps today's music students can learn a bit more about the science of sound. So give us your name and your connection to this project.
My name is Bob Lott, L-O-T-T, and I am the producer, director, even partial writer for the film.
So how did you meet? How'd you meet Brother Phil? How did you all get connected?
I met him through Steve, who just left. About 7 years ago, he convinced me to come up to Chicago. I'm from Philadelphia. And we went to his apartment. And I just saw an outstanding man with so much knowledge about music, people, astrology. So I just knew that somewhere along the line, I'd like to be able to do something about him. And after he passed, Steve called me and said, Bob, we need to do a documentary on him. I said, you got me. You got me. So that's the easy thing.
Now, some people were not aware of his passing, but those who were, I remember there was a great big ceremony at the 63rd Street Beach in honor of him, the drummers and all of that. But for those who perhaps are in other cities that don't know, he made his transition. Exactly what year and month was that?
Ooh, now you asked me something
Well, we know he lived. Well, one of the things that was so profound about his teachings and his music was that, when you know astrology, it's almost as if you understand the cycles of the earth, and you understand the sound, you understand the signs, and he had an opportunity to perhaps even understand that his transition may have been forthcoming. And that's why he gave the command, well, if you're going to do something on my life, this is who you need to contact, and you need to make sure that you get the information. So, well, one last thing before, of course, we're about to start here at the Hales Franciscan school here at 49th and King Drive. But one last thing, how did you go about collecting things you need for a documentary? Film clips, interviews, photos. Did you just put out the call? I need information. How did you go about collecting all the things?
All four of us put out the call for anybody that might have photographs. And there were a couple of organizations that had some film of him, as you'll see on the film. And all I could do is collect it all as best I possibly could, come up with a story so the world can know who this man was, because he was special.
Now, how will people be able to see this film? Will it be available online, purchased? How will they get the copy of this documentary? How will they be able to see it and maybe even use it in their classrooms?
That's a good idea. And right now, there's nowhere you can see it. We're looking to put it on television. We're also looking to get it into schools, but it's going to take a while. Right now, it's in quite a few festivals around the country. So we'll see how it works out.
Well, thank you so much. And how do people contact you if they want to follow up and perhaps see if they can put it on a TV network or purchase it for their schools? How do they reach you?
I am from Philadelphia. I have a company called Teamwork Media Group International. And my name is Bob Lott. I'm the president and the producer of all the documentaries. And I've been doing this for about 40 years.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Naima Latif, and you've been watching The Media Connection here on the On Air Network. And you need to know about this great man. And we'll continue to keep you posted on when you can see it on the big screen, because we know it's going to be coming soon. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.